Hi there. This is Dr. Shiroko with Heart to Heart Medical Center. I'm the owner of Heart to Heart Medical Center and the author of the book, Healing When It Seems Impossible, 7 Keys to Defy the Odds. And today I'm excited to have my special guest, Kimberly Sherwood, who is a specialized fitness trainer. And I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having me.
yeah. So the reason that I have her here today is because I have worked with so many people who have physical pains and movement issues with different joints and limbs and back pain and chronic sort of health pain-like issues. And I've always believed that the right kind of exercise is what will make you feel better. And so I'm super excited to have Kimberly here because she feels the same way and she has a program for helping you do that. So welcome, Kimberly. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I liked what you were talking about pain in the body. Sometimes it does stem from nutritional reasons and other reasons, but when it's localized pain to muscle joints or certain areas of the body, then quite often it needs to be addressed with some kind of therapy or exercise.
The right kind of movement. Yeah.
Correct.
So I think that's what's so vitally important is figuring out the right kind of movement. And I would love to talk to you about how you approach, let's use knee pain as an example of what you might do with somebody and how you would approach that, and what is your philosophy of care with problems that people have.
Okay. Knee pain's a really good one. That's something that's close to my heart. I've had 2 knee surgeries, and those were from skiing blowouts.
Mm.
So while I think they were necessary because my knees were basically, I had ACL tears, meniscus tears. I learned a lot about the knee. And quite often, what happens is knee pain starts without an incident or without an accident.
Mm.
And when that happens, surgery is not really the answer. And I find that most people are looking for the correct kind of exercise to help resolve their knee pain. The problem is, a lot of times people aren't ready to jump into traditional kinds of exercise. And one of the things I tell people is that if you have an issue in your body that is either an overuse issue or a muscle imbalance issue, which is quite often the case with knee pain,
Mm.
if you jump into exercise and you strengthen your body, you strengthen your issue. You're strengthening that issue within your body. So we need to resolve the issue before strengthening our muscles around our joint too much. So then the question becomes, how do we resolve the issue?
Mm-hmm.
And so quite often what happens in the case of the knee, if there hasn't been an incident or an accident, like in my case with a skiing accident,
Mm-hmm.
we need to look at what is affecting the knee. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often knee issues, I find most of the time, are starting upstream or downstream from the knee. Okay. The issue a lot of times isn't in the knee itself, but the pain presents in the knee. The issue could be in the foot and ankle, or the issue could be in the hip, and your knee is stuck in between. And that's where the pain results. So, what we need to look at is the position of the skeleton. So, the alignment of the leg bones.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have metatarsals that drop, it'll shift the position of our lower leg bone. That shifts the position of our upper leg bone. And instead of having leg bones that are stacked with the knee in the middle, we have leg bones that are, sorry, trying to do this on camera. So we have
Yeah.
leg bones that are at an angle with the
Mm-hmm.
knee stuck in the middle. And all of that force is going onto the knee. So the knee's taking a kind of load. It's taking load in a way that it was not structurally designed to take that load. So what we need to do is align the skeleton, mobilize and balance the muscles around the joint, and strengthen them equally. So a lot of people start with exercise, but what we really need to do is back it up more than that use more of a maintenance exercise or a restorative exercise kind of approach, align our skeleton, mobilize and balance our muscles, that will eliminate the knee pain. And then what we want to do is create balanced strength around the knee to carry us forward from there.
Literally forward, since the knees.
Exactly. So that was a lengthy explanation. I hope that all made sense.
Oh my God, it was great. Yeah. So, interestingly, when I was 16 or 17, I started having knee pain and no reason, no apparent reason. And, it wouldn't get better. And so they finally did what's called an arthrogram. So at the time they didn't have MRI. So they did an arthrogram and found a torn meniscus. So they did surgery and said they removed the whole meniscus, which shouldn't grow back. And then it did grow back, which maybe because I was so young. But what the surgeons told me was that it wasn't going to grow back. And then it grew back and I just refused to have another surgery. And so all these years I have worked with, finding the right exercise and doing the right movements in order to help. But I swear nobody has ever said what you've said to me today. I've just sort of evolved it over my time. So I'm so excited to share you with my audience so that when people have various kinds of hurts, that they get the right training for.
Sometimes your meniscus is just out of place. That can happen as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is our muscles that are pulling on our joint, putting stress on our joint, and that's creating pain or issues in the meniscus.
Mm.
I actually worked with a girl who I know her. I have horses, so I ride horses, and I work with a lot of equestrians, although I work with people from every sport, and I
Mm.
work with a lot of non-athletes, non-exercisers as well. But
Mm.
she had knee pain, and I wasn't surprised she had knee pain because watching her walk, I could just see through her movement and the position of her body that
Mm.
her body was out of alignment and it wasn't serving her well and it wasn't serving her knees. She
Yeah.
had knee pain and she eventually got into an accident. She stepped in a hole at school. She was a teenager, about 15, fell. Her doctors found a torn meniscus, so they did surgery. Right after the surgery, she felt better. She didn't have any pain, but it's because she wasn't doing anything. She wasn't mobile. So she didn't have pain because she was not using her body. Well, as soon as she went back to using her body, her pain came right back, even though she'd had surgery on her meniscus. And she went back to her surgeon. He said he did not want to do another surgery unless she couldn't stand the pain. And he only gave her 50-50 odds of success, which she said wasn't good enough for her. And she was at a point where she couldn't stand the pain. So her mother reached out to me. I started working with her, and I was very familiar with what her body does riding horses. And she'd been
Mm.
riding horses her entire life since she was a toddler. And so within 3 weeks, I mobilized and balanced the muscles in her legs. Her knee pain was gone within 3 weeks. It was gone after 3 weeks of working together. And then after that, I corrected her movement patterns because what happens is when we have an issue for a long time, our body will try to figure out the easiest way for us to move. So if
Mm.
we have an issue, we start to adopt different movement patterns. And you do this without thinking about it. It's neuroplasticity in the brain. We'll find those easiest movement patterns and it makes it your new normal. So sometimes we can correct the body, but we're still using those movement patterns that don't serve us.
Mm.
Fortunately, due to neuroplasticity, we can actually create or strengthen or correct those movement patterns just as easily. So after her pain was gone, we worked on movement patterns, completely changed the way she was walking. She had been crossing over her center line and toeing in. So we changed her to a normal movement pattern. After that, worked on strengthening her leg muscles in a
Mm.
balanced way. And she had pain just walking before. She now runs track in school.
Oh,
And
wow.
she told me yesterday that she's going to start doing the hurdles as well.
Oh,
So
nice.
really a remarkable comeback. She had had years of knee pain.
Mhm. At age 15, she'd had years of knee pain.
At age 15, she'd had years of knee pain. I think
Mhm.
about 3 years of knee pain. And it's very interesting too, because a lot of times teenagers, they have rapid bone growth, right? And
Mhm.
their muscle elasticity does not keep up to their bone growth. So they become very tight in certain places. And then a lot of teenagers nowadays are also single sport athletes. When I was a kid, kids pretty much just ran around and played, and then maybe they did multiple sports in school. Nowadays, a lot of children from a young age become single sport athletes, and either they're softball players or soccer players or tennis players, and they just focus on one sport, which creates a lot of overuse conditions in the body.
Got it.
Also, teenage girls go through a lot of hormonal changes too, which affects our tendons and ligaments differently as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
yeah.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you work with people and how somebody might be able to reach out to you? I have a link to your webinar so that they can get educated. It's right down here along the bottom. But please tell us how you work with people. And
So I almost exclusively work with people online now. If people are close enough to me, I can work with them in person one-on-one. But in all honesty, not only is the most efficient way for me to work with people online, um, a lot of times people get the quickest results that way, because they don't have to wait to try to book with me privately and have our schedules coincide. So I have a program that I've created, and that is after working with people for thousands of hours, coaching people in fitness, and along the way resolving issues. And how my approach to resolving issues has changed greatly over the last, over 10 years. And that is through a lot of things that I have learned on my own, healing my own body, working with different practitioners and different professionals, putting things together. So when COVID started, I used to have a gym, and I worked with people in the, physically in a brick and mortar space. And when
mm,
COVID started and I had to shut down, I started serving the people that I was already working with online. And I realized very quickly that I could do so very effectively over
mm,
Zoom. I'm looking at a person and a person's body in person or over Zoom. I see the same things. So
mm,
I when people start working with me, we have an initial consultation where I go deep into their history,
mm,
throughout their entire life, not just their medical history, their activity history, their pain history, all of that. I look at a person's structure, their entire structure from head to toe, and
mm,
then I create a plan for them. And I have a video program. And what happens is people end up working with me privately. I have group sessions, and then they also follow along to videos at home. And the videos are so important, because if somebody works with me privately one-on-one and we do work together, the information that I give them, the things that I do, I haven't had anybody that's had any experience in the things that I do start with me before. So all of the information's new, and it's
mm.
so much information that they can't remember it all afterwards. So they work with me, but then they follow along to the videos that take them through their body to resolve their issue, and they do it according to the plan that I create for them. And this is what's really important. Not only do we go to the point of pain to relieve pain as quickly as possible for people, what we do then is we reset the entire body, because quite often, as I said, the pain does not present where the issue is. We don't just want to address the pain, we want to fix the entire body. I find that most people with pain don't just have one issue, they have multiple issues in their body. So, because our body, it's a structure, and one thing affects another thing. So we start at the bottom of the foot. We work all the way through the body up to the base of the skull, and then out to the fingertips. So I give people quick pain relief, but then I help them reset their entire body. And then
Mm.
after that, I make sure their movement patterns are good, and then I help them strengthen their entire body.
That's
And that's
awesome.
all online. And it's actually really effective and easy.
Yeah, and based on what I do, I specialize in helping people with mysterious symptoms, but very much of everything that I do is about balance. So we're kind of you're working on the balance of like your knee is not disconnected from the rest of your body. And so no matter how much surgery you have, and I think that's the thing I've learned over the years, is that it doesn't matter how much surgery you have, it's not going to solve a problem that comes from the imbalance of the muscles. And I always tell my patients,
Absolutely.
yeah, the muscles that hold your knee is really only held together by like 4 ligaments, and that's attached to a few muscles, and all of that has to be in balance in order for your knee to work right. Or like I like to talk about the shoulder too, because there are 6 muscles that move your shoulder and nothing else holds it in place. And so those muscles, if they're not evenly balanced, they're not going to work right. And so that's why I'm so happy to have you here. And even so, one of the things that you all should know is that Kimberly's program says equestrian, so it talks about horses, but she works with people who have any kind of pains or injuries, and again, healing, musculoskeletal injuries is really about finding balance in movement. And so I just love what you're doing. So right below here is a link to click to watch her webinar. But if you want to just jump in and talk to her in person, here is the book a call link that you could literally just get a call with her for free and find out what she does and see if it's a good fit for you. So do you have anything else you'd like to leave my audience with today?
No, just I love what you said about the balance around the muscles. The shoulder is just a great example. If somebody doesn't have not just balanced strength, but balanced mobility in the muscles around a joint, they don't have a healthy joint. And that's when they're at risk, or that's when they might be feeling pain. That's also usually when they have performance issues. And a lot of times I work with people who have performance issues. They might not be feeling pain, but they can't move the way they want or need to be able to move their bodies. So I think that's great. And it truly is all about balance. And like you said, if your focus is too narrow, if you're just looking at one small part of the body or one small issue, you could be missing out on the entire big picture. So
Exactly.
yeah, I totally agree with you.
Big thinking.
I encourage anybody to book a call if they have questions. If I can help people, that's great. And if I can't help people, a lot of times I can still give them a lot of clarity around their issue and send them the right direction. I talk to a lot of people who haven't gotten answers from their doctors because they haven't been able to find anything that's broken. They can't see the kinds of issues that I'm looking for. And perhaps they've even been to physical therapy, or they've been to chiropractors, maybe gotten temporary relief, but not lasting relief because they haven't completely resolved their issue. And that's what I do. My goal is to have people resolve their issues permanently within a certain amount of time, within a few months at the very most, and then set them up to have a sustainable body for life and a body that they know how to take care of for life.
Awesome. Yes. I've worked with a trainer myself who does similar to what you do, only she's only in person, and really has been so valuable to me she teaches me the specific exercises that help all of my muscles work together and how to get that alignment working better. And it's made a huge difference. And I've never had surgery since my first knee, or my only knee surgery, when I was 16. I was like, you are not doing this to me again. I was like,
I talk to people who have surgeries that are, or have had surgeries that were not necessary. So in my case, when I had my knee surgery, it was necessary. It was after a really big accident, and I had no lateral stability in my knee whatsoever. The doctor said it looked like a bomb had gone off in my knee. But quite often I talk to people who've had unnecessary surgeries, and I always tell people that it's a last resort. It's a last resort. And for people who are out there who feel like they have an issue that they can't resolve and nobody knows what's wrong, you just haven't spoken to the right person yet. There's always an answer. I truly believe there is always a way. The body has amazing restorative and remarkable healing powers. And you just have to talk to the person that has the right information. So I sometimes talk to people who've given up hope, and I don't want anybody to give up hope. You have to keep going.
Exactly. Thank you so much for being with me today. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful day. And to all of you out there, thank you. And I hope this helped you understand some things about movement. Have a great day.
Thanks.